All right, thank you for that quick change. Alicia Sacramone Quinn, you can call her Alicia Quinn, our strategic head of the women's program, and Chellsie Memmel, the technical lead of the women's program as well. And to make best use of time, we will head straight into questions. Emily.
For either or both, what were the conversations you guys had at Nationals with Chellsie and the decision for her not to compete? And then when you're thinking about ahead to her performance here, when somebody is dealing with an injury, how much do you consider past performances and kind of what she's done before this weekend?
We take past performances into consideration with every one of our selections, and I spoke with Sarah and Chellsie a good amount, but Chellsie actually handled a lot of that correspondence. And at the end of the day, our biggest thing is we want her to be healthy and safe. So just doing what she can safely do. And I think the decision to not compete was smart at championships, because why risk it when you still have another 2-day competition coming up, which honestly weighs a little bit more, I think, when it does come to selection. But I'll let Chellsie talk a little bit more about the conversations that were had there.
We just had the conversations of what is the smartest thing to do for yourself, for your mind, for your body, especially your body. You're going to have to withstand Olympic trials, then we go back and train at home, and then we've got our prep camp, then we go to Paris and have all of the training there. So it was really came down to what is going to give her the best opportunity at Olympic trials to go out and make the team, and then if she does make the team, be able to withstand the length of training and time that goes into competing at the Olympic Games. So it was really weighing what was going to give her the best opportunity to make her goals.
Scott.
The first two world teams under the two of you and Dan have been just the top 5 in the all-around from the trials event. So is that sort of just like happenstance, or is there a preference to selecting a team of the top 5 all-arounders?
I would say that just happened to be happenstance. Like, I think it's always a puzzle, and that's how we talk about it. And it's a combination of our best all-arounders and our best event finalists. So it just happened to play out that way. But there is other things we take into consideration during that time. But I think, honestly, we were kind of lucky, and we didn't have anything too crazy to have to work through. So it's been relatively easy to do selections up until this point, which we know this one will not be easy at all.
Will, and then Patricia.
You guys have been in the position that they will be in on Sunday night, and I'm sort of curious how that forms not only the way you make the decisions, but maybe the way that you relay that to the teams and maybe the athletes, and, so that maybe we're not kicking trash cans down all the time.
It was me. I did it. I'm not going to lie. I think just being on the high of making a team, but we didn't make a team at Olympic trials. We got selected from a camp, which was less than ideal. But I also didn't make a team at Olympic trials. And so I feel like knowing how both sides feel, we can approach it a little bit more delicately. Like, either way, we're going to be crushing people's dreams in that moment, no matter what we do. And so just, getting through the announcement and then just being able to be there for the athletes who didn't get picked. Because, yes, it's going to be super exciting and great for the team that did, but they get to go out and do their things, and, I'll stay there, and, if someone needs to yell or cry or do whatever, I'll be the person you can shell that at, and I'm fine. But I think just them knowing that we've been there and we know exactly how they feel, hopefully that will give them some comfort, but there's not much that's going to kind of weather that storm they're feeling emotionally.
And just as an addition to that, Lily spoke a bit about this on Monday, but USA Gymnastics will have mental health professionals available, particularly for the athletes who are not selected to the team. Those athletes will be able to join their families and have those resources available as well. So that's been part of our planning as well. So go Patricia and then Nancy.
As Olympians yourselves, how important is it to have Olympic experience on a team, those that have already gone through that?
I think it can be really great, and it might not be necessary. I think this time we're going to look at that we are most likely going to have some Olympic experience. It's, competing on a stage not quite like you've ever competed on, because, when you're going to World Championships, yes, the entire world is there, the best of the best, but it's just gymnastics. It's not, the entire world is totally focused on you, and there's so much hype. And nowadays with social media, the amount of attention that everybody can get and put out there is unmatched to what we had to go through at that time. So the pressure can feel a little bit different. So I think some of these athletes who have handled that kind of know what to expect a little bit more and can help guide, if there's going to be younger athletes on it, help guide them through that a little bit. But our Olympic team didn't have none of us were competitive on the 2004 previous Olympic teams, and we still did all right.
And once the Olympic team is selected, we will be putting the statistics together and putting this out, but we do anticipate that this will be the oldest Olympic team ever by far, simply by virtue of the age of the contestants. But we have all that data ready to go. We're just going to have to plug and play that as well. So Nancy was next, I think.
I don't know how much you guys look at the international landscape when you're thinking about the team, but if you do, how much of a factor is it that you don't have Russia to deal with, and that's been the U.S.'s biggest competitor in recent years?
We definitely look at it, but at the end of the day, we can control what we can control, and that's we really can't even control our athletes. Like, on paper, we know what they can do in theory. So, we look at that. We maybe take those numbers into account when we, do scenarios, but at the end of the day, that's not going to be a huge factor in our decision.
Ari?
In what ways have you guys grown, or what have been the biggest lessons you've learned as leaders in your posts this squad?
I feel like when we first started, I'm going to speak for the both of us on this one, I think, we had no idea what we were doing. Like, we knew what the job entailed, but, like, actually facilitating all of the madness that comes with it, we were a little blindsided, and we were flying by the seat of our pants. I think now, after about 2.5 years, we have a little better idea of how things will go before we even make a decision. We're like, okay, we want to do this, but X, Y, Z is going to happen in the aftermath. So what can we do to prevent that or make it run smoother? So I feel like we are way more thought out now, and we do anticipate any type of like backlash to decisions we make, and understand that, like, we're trying to make decisions that are best for the group, not an individual, and coaches will always respond to the individual because they're advocating and they're fighting for their athletes. So we learn now we don't take things personally. I don't, at least. And it's, it's about working with people. So being able to have uncomfortable conversations at times that may not be what you want to do, and holding our ground. I think we are young, and a lot of people were kind of testing how far they could push us and what they could get away with. So I think for us, it was just, being confident in our decisions.
I think related to that, when we had the introductory Zoom with the two of you, it's like, okay, Chellsie is the technical lead, and you're the strategic lead. And I think the question from the press was, okay, what is each of you doing in the job? I don't think anyone really knew what your roles were actually going to be. So I think as a follow-up to that question, like Chellsie and then Alicia, like, what do you guys have a separation of duties? Is it someone stepping up depending on what's needed? As an ITO, we know you're the technical person, Chellsie, but if you could talk a little bit about the actual functional roles that you've kind of carved out for yourselves, if there is a carving out.
The lines, got blurred a little bit as we were kind of navigating and figuring it out. I did have to step up for Alicia a little bit for the traveling. Okay, a lot of it. For the traveling, because that really wasn't supposed to be under what I did. So leading the team at the last 2 World Championships, at the Pan American Games, and other various international assignments. But feel like I've done a decent job with that and grown in that position, and learning, helping to put together the lineup. The coaches are out, like, asking for the feedback for the routines. Do I need to inquire or not? Or quick, can you rewrite the routine? Because none of the 3 that we brought were correct, and we do have to inquire. So being able to do things like that on the floor, making quick decisions, I'm getting more experience with. And then also still trying to give the feedback for the routines, for the construction. I don't think that quite works there, or this or that. If they choose to follow that, is ultimately the decision to the athlete and coach.
Want me to
Okay.
go further on that? Okay. No.
Hands for questions. Gina and then Juliet. Right back here.
Following up with that, obviously your judging experience has a lot to do with that. How much do you feel like the coaches and the athletes are open to actually talking to you about changes, as opposed to doing so and then asking
They're open to it because we do go over things, or I'll get an email or a text or, whatever. How does this look? Does this, or what, trying to weigh like the risk versus the reward. So being able to do things like that has been, I think, very helpful. And I will just continue to do that and support that. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's really up on them. And I've seen, because there's also a lot of comments, but I've seen them do this skill or this or that beautifully in all of the trainings, and then it's just a little bit off in competition. I was like, well, why are they doing that? I'm like, because they can. It was just off. So just helping them to just try to get the confidence. Please keep working it, because it will get there, or it can get there.
Juliet.
How much interaction do you have with Simone, and what kind of things do you tell her?
I mean, we have as much interaction, I think, with her as any other athlete. It's when we're around them, and what I love about her is that she has the experience, and she can come communicate that, be like, hey, this may not work for me. And I'm like, okay. So it's a very adult relationship, which is nice. And actually, we have that with a lot of the older athletes, which has been great, because they feel like they can come to us and be like, hey, I know this is what the program was, but it may not be working today. And we're like, okay, let's adjust. So I think that having the ability for them to feel like they can come and talk to us, like, I know I wouldn't have gone, be like, hey, I don't think I can do 45 beam routines today. And that would have been like accepted. But now it's like, I think it's nice for us because we know where they stand. And I think it's great for them because we're going to respect their knowledge of their own bodies and what they're capable of doing. And we can adjust the program so everybody's on the same page and can have a successful training or competition and not be like, well, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this. Like, no. All our cards are on the table. Let's try to get through it, figure it out. And so for her, she's been great with us. And I feel like a lot of people tend to like worry what she'll say. And I'm like, honestly, I want you to be brutally honest to me so that way I know exactly where you are and I can help you in the best way possible.
On the side, then we'll go back.
So Jordan talked a little today about how the reason trials are so difficult is you have to be 4 for 4 twice. And I'm wondering, as former gymnast and also in your current roles, she also mentioned that day 1 and 2 are a little bit different in like how you're thinking and how it feels. For you, is that true? Are differences between day 1 and day 2 on trials, and what might those be?
I think they can be different mentality too, just with how you go into day 1, how you go into day 2. But when I look at it and when we're talking about it and talking about the scenarios of 2 days of competition, that's what all of the major competitions are at Worlds, at the Olympic Games. Your prelims is the day 1 is what gets you into everything. But then, team finals, that is your team finals medal. That's your day 2 of competition. And then if you make all around, you're going to compete again and again and again. So by being able to, if you have a great first day, you need to let yourself, come down, relax on that day off in between, but then gear up and be ready to do, just as great a performance the next day. So it is a trying to figure out, like I said, like your mental headspace of being able to psych yourself up again, but not psych yourself out. And just rely on your training. All of the training, they have worked so hard to get to this point. And I want to see them all perform at their best because I know what they're all capable of, and that's what I want to be able to see from them. And just so they can be proud of that they put it in their all to give themselves the best opportunity to make this team.
All the way in the back and then forward to the side.
What do you expect and want to see from Suni?
I want Suni to just to be able to compete at her personal best, whatever that may be. I never really have expectations of an individual athlete going into competition. Like in any sport, anything can happen. So I don't like to have like preconceived notions in my mind. I like to kind of just take it as it comes. And she has overcome a lot of adversity in her personal life and her like health. So I feel like if she can just have 2 great days of competition and be healthy and happy, like that's what I want to see for her.
What's the best way to describe how good Simone is?
I mean, best way to describe it?
Do we have to invent a new adjective?
I think we need to. She is an icon in our sport. I don't know if there will ever be another gymnast who will ever come close to touching her caliber of achievements, difficulty, and just the amount, like the impact she's had on our sport. So I mean, I like icon. Like I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but she's very impressive. We joke all the time. I'm like, I'm like, can you be not as good at gymnastics? And she just laughs at me. She's like, yeah, I'll try. I just like, perfect.
It is. I mean, I laugh after she does her Yurchenko double because I'm just like, how? Or I ask her, like, what are you thinking before that? Like, to get ready to do that because I can't, like, comprehend it in my mind.
Back to Ari.
Like Jill said, this is such an experienced field. Are there any examples of ways that come to mind that you've seen some of the older gymnasts be leaders or help out or mentor some of the newer seniors? Maybe little moments that happen behind the scenes that we don't know about.
I think if you pay attention enough at trainings or at
Yeah.
camps like we
You
have,
see it.
you see these little moments where nobody's watching them and they're trying to, give some guidance or help a teammate who's having a bad day. I think the most recent example, and it's not even an older senior helping a younger senior. It's, you have Simone going and, looking out for Suni and cheering her on at a competition. Like that type of camaraderie, it's something that's very special about our sport. Like you have a bunch of individuals coming together for a common cause. And a lot of the times you'd think they'd be competitive and want the other one to do poorly, but at the end of the day, it's like this really large extended family you have. And you do want each other to do well, but you can still be competitive and want to win. So watching those bonds has been something that's really special, and I think we lived it because we were teammates and we had teammates like that. But watching it in this role, because you always worry, you're like, oh gosh, women can be catty. I'm a woman. I'm like, I know. But this group has come together, and it's really nice to see that.
There are no catty women in this room, by the way. Will, yes.
Two questions. But the first one is, you have, 3.5 weeks between the end of this and we get to Paris. Sarah was talking to us about Chellsie and said, the hope is she does the best she can here, and then in that gap, if she's chosen, that she'll be able to kind of be even further down the road. Does that, when you're making your decision making, are you thinking about who are the best 5 in this moment, or is it who are the best 5 on July 27th or 8th that you cannot understand?
Honestly, it has to be in this moment, right? Because in 3 days from now, in 2 weeks from now, like anything can happen. So we always kind of have to look at what's being done right now in front of us, because that's what we can actually bank on. And so do we hope that there's time where either their bodies can heal a little bit more, they get a little bit more rest, and they're further in, like, progressing to peak status? Yeah, that'd be great. But that's not something we can. Well, if they're ready in 2 weeks from now, that's like such a wild variable that we were like, I don't know if we're going to make that risk. So we look at what they have done and what they did most recently, which will be these 2 days of competition.
One more question. Anyone other than Ari? Just out of fairness. Anyone, before I go back to Gina, anyone who has not asked a question yet who would like to? Okay, Gina.
Lots of questions on Olympic trials timing and how would it be better from a peaking perspective of peaks and valleys and letting there be rest to shift nationals and classics and everything earlier, pick the team earlier and allow more time, obviously more time for variables, which is also not good, which is why us doing it late matters. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that, both just anecdotally, scientifically.
It's always kind of been done the way it's been going on now. And I get the appeal of that, because the closer you are to the actual competition day, less variables can happen. But the shifting of everything is like, honestly, that's like above our pay grade. Like, we don't have the ability to talk to arenas and be like, hey, I know you have a concert this weekend, but we would really love to have championships then. So
it was perfect in timing, and it was allowed.
we would play with the dates a little bit, I think, personally. But we don't have that luxury, so we play it as it's as it lies.
Yes.
And Ari will be the last call. Anyone in back have a question? Okay, Ari will be our last question.
Sunday night after competition, when it comes to selection, there's a 3-person committee that Alicia is one of the members on. Will there be other non-voting people in the room to provide their insight?
Only other person in the room will be a
An independent.
yes.
Independent
So we have the observer, And I believe Annie will be in there, but she's just more just taking notes and like making sure we have everything we need paper-wise. But it'll just be the three of us and the observer, and we have 30 minutes?
20 or 30, I'll confirm.
30-ish.
30 is
Gotta
the
be back
30
out
is the
on
maximum.
floor in 30
Yeah.
minutes.
30 is the maximum.
Yeah,
All right, Emily actually gets the last question.
that's fine.
Just like totally following up on that, like Alicia, when you're the one in the room, are you kind of like speaking on behalf of you and Chellsie? Is that how that works? You guys just, okay.
Like, we'll obviously talk beforehand, and
Yeah.
I'm allowed to text her. So if like I'm on the fence about something and I want her opinion, I could be like, "Hey, what are your thoughts on this?" But we have a lot of trainings and two lengthy competitions to be able to kind of like her and I get on the same page. And
We haven't spoken at all about it
Have
since
not,
we've gotten
I
here
mean,
or
no.
before.
yeah, there'll be like a random midnight text being like, "I was thinking about this," and she's like, "I know it's not great situations that we have to play out with." But yeah, those are things that keep us up at night.
Thank you very much. We'll let you guys get back to work next podium training.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.